I had a great comment which asked me to kind of explain my thinking why I started out backpacking with more expensive gear. And this comment was actually spawned because of an interview I did with the Shill brothers. Link should be in the cards up above. And that was a fun chat I had with Andy and Kevin. And hopefully you get some value from watching that and following those guys as well. But my first hammock, in case you missed it, was actually the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC. And that's not necessarily a cheap or budget option by any means, by any comparison. And one of the big reasons I chose that, first of all, is I wanted to make sure that I had what I consider to be the Ferrari of hammocks. Something that I could start off with and I would know whether or not this hammock camping thing was for me. So to me, that's one big benefit, is if you start right away at the top and you do your research, and that's what I made sure I did, is I made sure I went to all the online forums. I watched tons of YouTube videos. I researched to death all the different options for a guy my height, what I think would work best, and I came up with the Warbonnet Blackbird XLC was the best option in my mind at the time. I wanted to make sure that I gave this hammock camping thing a really good try, and starting off with one of the best hammocks out there, still is one of the best hammocks out there, is a good way to see if it's for you or not. So to me, purchasing a more expensive product is my way of testing whether or not method A through Z is the method that works for me. Another reason I tend to go for the higher price items is that I can resell it for almost as much as I purchased it for. Now that's not to say that I go in with every purchase thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to resell this item. I just like to know that the item that I purchase has a high enough value that if it doesn't work for me, then I can pass it on to someone else and it may work for them. So let me give you an example. I had an Enlightened Equipment Revolt or Prodigy, I don't know which one it was, but I wanted to make sure I got one of the best underquilts out there, kind of give it a try, and I fell in love with using a pad in a hammock, not only because of the versatility, and I've talked about this before at length, video in the cards again, but also I knew that someone would want to purchase that underquilt because it's a quality piece of gear, and I got almost as much as I paid for it, because once again, those cottage vendors that have quality gear, there's usually a long waiting period for them to make it. And so someone who didn't want to wait, you know, at that time I think it was 6 to 8 weeks lead time, but was willing to pay almost as much as I paid for it, and just got it there within a couple days. Doing things this way also makes sure that I learn a lot about an industry and a specific niche. I think you can learn a lot about an industry by looking at its budget items, but I also think the same is true by looking at the higher end items. You see what is considered to be the best of the best. What's quality, what features makes it a quality piece of gear, and that's something that's been really helpful to me in just creating videos for you guys, to where we talk about different features and we talk about what works and what doesn't work. It also allows me to find out what the balance is for me between worth, value, and expense. Is it something where feature X is just purely marketing hype? It's just something that the manufacturers amped up, and when I get to see the gear for myself, I'm like, is that really worth $200+? Is it really worth, saving $30 here between a budget item or not? And so those are the kind of things I tend to consider. And I think by looking at higher price pieces of gear, I get to see what is considered to be the best of the best. What's the cutting edge? Where's the innovation here? If it weren't for buying those higher price pieces of gear, if I just stuck purely to budget gear or mid-level gear, I wouldn't be able to tell whether or not something was valuable or not. And the final reason is silly, of course, and you guys know this, it usually ends up being lighter. Although I talk about why it's not important to focus on just the weight of items, it is still an important consideration to keep in the back of your mind. So what do you guys think? Everyone tells you that when you're starting something new, be it backpacking, hiking, start off with a budget item first to see if it's something that you enjoy or something that works for you. I'm guilty of that as well. But what I'm telling you that I do personally a lot of the times is I try to start as close to the top as I possibly can in terms of backpacking gear. And then If that doesn't work for me, I know my method is off. What do you do? Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.